The restaurant was alive with laughter and clinking glasses, but inside the tiled washroom, the world felt small, suffocating, and unbearably quiet. A single stall was locked, and from behind its thin wooden door came the sound of muffled sobs. Amara pressed her palms against her face, trying to stifle the sound. Her mascara had smudged, leaving dark streaks along her cheeks, but she didn't care anymore. Her carefully chosen dress, the one she had spent weeks saving for, now felt like a costume, a cruel reminder of how much she had hoped tonight would be different. She had come here with expectations. She thought tonight would mark a new chapter, a turning point in her life. Instead, she had been left alone at a table for two, watching waiters pass by with sympathetic glances while the seat across from her remained painfully empty. The man she thought loved her, or at least respected her enough to show up, had chosen silence over honesty. No text, no call, no explanation. Just absence. Why me? She whispered through her tears, gripping her knees tightly as if the pressure would keep her from falling apart completely. For months she had tried to convince herself that she mattered, that her presence wasn't something people could simply forget. She had given her heart, her loyalty, and every ounce of her strength to relationships, friendships, and even her job. Yet here she was, discarded once again, crying in a restaurant washroom because the world outside seemed too cruel to face. The voices of other women entering the washroom made her hold her breath, trying not to be heard. She heard them laugh, fix their lipstick, talk about love as though it were effortless, as though it were guaranteed. Their heels clicked against the floor before the door swung open and silence returned. Amara exhaled shakily, her body trembling. She had never felt so small. Minutes stretched into what felt like hours. She didn't know how long she had been there, curled up on the closed lid of the toilet seat, her face buried in her hands. The buzzing light above flickered occasionally, and the faint scent of lavender soap mixed with her salty tears. And then came the sound. A knock. Soft, hesitant, and almost cautious. Her head jerked up. Excuse me. A voice said, gentle but firm. It was a man's voice, though low enough to sound respectful, as though he already knew he was crossing into a space he didn't belong. Are you all right in there? Amara froze. For a moment, she wondered if she had imagined it, maybe her exhausted mind had conjured a voice to keep her company. But then it came again. I don't mean to intrude. I was passing by and I heard, you sound upset. Her pride flared instantly, clashing with her pain. She didn't want anyone to see her like this, especially not a stranger. The thought of opening the door and revealing her smudged makeup, her swollen eyes, her trembling lips, it made her want to disappear into the walls. I'm fine, she said quickly, her voice hoarse. There was a pause. Then the man spoke again. You don't sound fine. Something about the honesty in his tone broke her defenses a little. It wasn't pitying, it wasn't patronizing. It was simply true. She swallowed hard, unable to respond. Look, he continued after a beat, I can leave if you want. I know what it feels like to be alone in a place full of people. Sometimes, it helps to know someone cares enough to ask. Her chest tightened. Who was this man? Why did he care? Why are you even here? She asked, her voice small. He chuckled softly, though there was no mockery in it. Because I got stood up too. Different table, same kind of story, I guess. Guess that makes us neighbors in disappointment tonight. For the first time, a small, shaky laugh escaped Amara's lips, surprising her. It felt strange to laugh while her eyes were still wet, but it was real. The stranger didn't push further, didn't demand she open the door. He just stayed, leaning lightly against the wall outside, his presence oddly steady. Amara wiped her face with the rough tissue paper, staring at her reflection in the faint crack between the door and the stall frame. She didn't look like herself. She looked like a ghost of the girl who had walked into this restaurant hoping for love. But outside, a stranger was waiting. And for the first time that night, she wondered if maybe, just maybe, she wasn't as invisible as she thought. Amara sat frozen, tissues clenched in her hand, staring at the stall door as though it held the power to decide her fate. The stranger's voice lingered in the air, calm, patient, and strangely comforting. Most men she had known either dismissed her feelings or demanded explanations she wasn't ready to give. But this voice didn't demand. It simply existed, waiting for her to decide. You don't have to say anything, he added gently. Sometimes silence is enough. Something shifted in Amara then. She had been abandoned, yes, but here was someone, a stranger, willing to stay even when she was at her weakest. With trembling hands, she reached for the stall lock. The small click echoed like thunder in her ears. Slowly, she pushed the door open. The man standing there wasn't what she expected. He wasn't smug, or overly polished, or carrying that fake kind of sympathy she hated. He was tall, dressed in a navy suit with the tie loosened at the neck, his expression somewhere between concern and vulnerability. His eyes were kind, but they also held their own story, the kind of pain you recognize only if you've lived it. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then he smiled faintly. "Hey." Amara wiped her cheeks, embarrassed. "I must look awful." He shook his head. "You look like someone who's had a really hard night. And that's nothing to be ashamed of." His words caught her off guard. She wanted to retreat back into her shell, but something about the way he spoke made her stay. "I'm Amara," she whispered, her voice still unsteady. He extended a hand, not pushing, just offering. "Daniel." When she hesitated, he lowered his hand and simply nodded. "It's nice to meet you, Amara, even under strange circumstances." Her lips twitched into something resembling a smile. "Strange is one word for it." "Hungry?" he asked suddenly. She blinked. "What?" "Well, I figured we both had plans tonight that fell apart. Seems like a waste to let the night end in a bathroom. Maybe we could sit together. Just as strangers keeping each other company." Amara hesitated. She wasn't sure if she was ready to face the restaurant again, with all its judgmental eyes. But then she thought about walking out alone, about sitting at her empty table, and the ache in her chest grew sharper. "Okay," she said softly. Daniel's smile widened, not triumphant, but warm, like a small light in a dark room. Together, they walked back into the dining hall. Heads turned, waiters glanced, but Amara lifted her chin a little higher this time. She wasn't alone anymore. They found a quiet table near the corner. Daniel pulled out a chair for her, and for once, she didn't feel like she was inconveniencing someone by existing. The waiter approached cautiously, his eyes flicking between them. Amara's cheeks burned, but Daniel handled it smoothly. "We'll order in a bit," he said, then turned back to her. "You don't have to tell me anything," he said. "But if you want to, I'll listen." The words hung in the air like an open invitation. Amara fiddled with the edge of her napkin, debating. She had carried her pain alone for so long. A failed engagement, a job that drained her, friends who drifted away when things got difficult. And tonight, the final straw. "I was supposed to meet someone," she said finally, her voice quiet. "Someone who said I mattered. But he didn't show up. Didn't even bother to send a message. Just, nothing." Daniel's expression softened. He didn't interrupt, didn't offer clichés. He simply let her speak. "I keep asking myself what's wrong with me," she admitted. "Why people find it so easy to walk away. Why I'm never worth staying for." Her voice cracked, and she looked down, ashamed. But Daniel leaned forward slightly, his tone steady. "There's nothing wrong with you," he said. "Sometimes people leave because of their own weakness, not because of your worth. Trust me, I know." Amara's eyes flicked up. "You got stood up too, didn't you?" He chuckled wryly. "Yeah, I thought tonight would be different. But, seems life had other plans." For a while, they sat in silence, their shared pain weaving an invisible thread between them. Then Daniel said quietly, "I lost someone, a while back. Someone I thought would be forever. And when she left, I thought I'd never breathe right again. But, here I am. And maybe tonight is proof that endings can lead to unexpected beginnings." Amara studied him. His words weren't polished, they carried weight, like scars carefully hidden beneath clothing. For the first time in months, she felt seen. The food arrived, and though Amara hadn't planned to eat, she found herself tasting the pasta Daniel ordered to share. The flavors were simple, but they felt like comfort. Conversation flowed more easily now. They laughed about small things, the awkwardness of blind dates, the way life sometimes mocked your best intentions. Daniel told her about his love for photography, how he found beauty in unexpected places. Amara shared how she used to paint but gave it up when life became too heavy. "Why did you stop?" he asked. "Because no one cared," she said. Daniel tilted his head. "Did you?" She blinked at the question. It lingered, tugging at something deep inside her. Did she care? She used to. before heartbreak dulled her colors. I don't know anymore, she admitted. Maybe it's time to find out, he said simply. Hours slipped by. The restaurant emptied, the waiters cleaning around them, but neither seemed eager to leave. For Amara, the night had transformed from despair to something almost magical, not because of romance but because of connection. As they walked out into the cool night air, Daniel looked at her. Can I walk you home? Amara hesitated, then nodded. For once, the idea of not being alone felt like relief rather than weakness. The city streets were quiet, lit by soft street lamps. They walked side by side, their steps unhurried. Amara felt a strange peace settle over her, as though the storm inside had calmed just enough to let her breathe again. At her apartment door, she turned to him. Thank you. For tonight. Daniel smiled. Thank you, Amara. For letting me in. She hesitated, then said, maybe, we could meet again. His eyes warmed. I'd like that. Days turned into weeks. What began as a chance meeting slowly blossomed into something deeper. They met for coffee, walked through parks, shared stories they had never told anyone else. Amara rediscovered her paints, encouraged by Daniel's gentle persistence. One afternoon, she showed him her first canvas in years, a washroom door, half open, with light spilling through. It's beautiful, he whispered. And for the first time, she believed it. They weren't rushing into love, not yet. But they were building something stronger: trust, respect, healing. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Daniel turned to her. You know, that night in the restaurant. I think we both thought we were being abandoned. But maybe we were being led to this. Amara's heart swelled. She realized then that sometimes the moments that break you are the same moments that guide you toward what you truly need. She no longer cried in washrooms, no longer begged for someone to choose her. She had found her strength again, and with it, the possibility of love that didn't demand she be anything other than herself. And it all began with a single knock on a washroom door.